Hey everyone, this is Derek from Carat & Co. And back in 2019, when Baselworld was still a thing, Grand Seiko launched their first ever spring drive manual wind with the power reserve on the back. And this was a reference SBGY003 in stainless steel. It had a paper fan, white dial, and it was limited to 700 pieces. And it was a monumental moment because at the time, the only way you can get a spring drive with the power reserve on the case back was either through a Crit or Etchy 2 or through a masterpiece collection, which both start at around 40,000 US dollars and were only offered in platinum or in gold. And so it was only natural that from the SBGY003 success that Grand Seiko would continue this collection. And now in 2021, Grand Seiko has unveiled the new Omiwatari, which is the SBGY007. It features a beautiful dial, spring drive, power reserve on the back, and in stainless steel, and I can't wait to show you guys. So let's take a closer look. So first, let's talk about what is Omiwatari. Omiwatari is a natural phenomenon which translates to God's crossing. And the Japanese describe it that every winter, the largest lake in Nagano, named Lake Suwa, which is outside of the Suwa Seikosha factory, freezes over entirely. Very rarely when this freezing occurs, jagged ridges form sometimes several inches high above the ice. From a scientific point of view, this happens to the ice surface stretching due to the differences in temperature during the daytime and nighttime. But even with knowing that the sight of the jagged ice appears mystical and mysterious, like a god walking straight through the frozen lake. Because it happens so rarely and mystifyingly, the country of Japan actually labeled this as a winter tourist sightseeing spot. And just like in Grand Seiko's fashion, they interpreted their own beautiful nature and translated that into a wristwatch. The SBGY007 Omiwatari is a depiction of this natural phenomenon. Instead of having high jagged ridges, it features a silvery pale blue dial that looks covered with a freshly layered surface of snow blown over. Like most Grand Seiko's dials, the Omiwatari dial is not flat in nature, and I mean that both in physical nature and its legibility. The slight ridges just so gently rise out of the dial while still being quite subtle, especially in low light conditions. But once you have a strong light on the dial, the ridges are pronounced and, like real snow, has small shadows throughout its ridges. It's a detail that's easy to look at and say, oh, it's just a blue snowflake dial. But when you actually have them side by side, you'll see the difference. The rest of the dial follows the classic grammar of design with a double-faceted hour marker at 12 o'clock. Each hour marker is multifaceted and Zaratsu polished on its several surfaces to reflect light and remain legible in most conditions, even low light, which is why Grand Seiko does not feel the need to add lume to their hour markers. In between every hour marker are small black lines perfectly positioned and only minimal lines of text, as it should be with Grand Seiko's logo and spring drive at 6 o'clock. The hands also follow the form and function of the dial by not only being multifaceted and Zaratsu polished, but tipped on the minutes and seconds hand to point out the minute in a quick, legible manner. The seconds hand is also tempered blue and gently sweeps over the Omiwatari dial in a mesmerizing fashion, and everything is frozen in time underneath an ever so gently curved sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on the inner surface. The case is the exact same as the SBGY003, with a 38.5mm diameter with a 10.2mm of thickness and a lug-to-lug of roughly 43mm. This will easily fit a majority of men's wrists, and this is my sweet spot when it comes to watches, since my wrist is also roughly 6.4 inches. The entire watch sits very flat and comfortable on the wrist. The case continues this design with Zaratsu polished bezel and front-facing side, while the sides of the case are brush polished with slight curves. Overall, it makes a super easy wearing experience, and it's paired with a matching navy blue crocodile strap with a lighter blue stitching that matches the dial. And it's also paired with that new Grand Seiko brush polished deployant buckle. Don't expect to take this watch into the water because it is what Grand Seiko considers to be splash resistant, or we can just assume it has about a 3-bar water resistant as it is made to be a dress watch. Now this is what I'm talking about. When you flip the watch over, you can see the 9R31 spring drive movement, which features the same insane ±1 second per day accuracy, such as on the other spring drive models, but now with the power reserve displayed at the top right corner on the movement case back. The indication also is different. Instead of that classic fan power reserve that we're used to seeing on the dial, you can see this gauge that almost connects as a full circle and still holds that incredible 3-day, 72-hour power reserve. The movement features a large brushed base plate with fused screws, just leaving small glimpses into the glide wheel that moves on smoothly, unlike the classic ticking we are used to on traditional mechanical movements. I'm also happy to see that the caseback crystal only has a very faint, translucent Grand Seiko lion emblem on the back and not to block the view of this beautiful movement. Now, this movement has only been used in a handful of pieces from Grand Seiko. It's still new, most notably the 18-karat yellow gold version, the SBGY002, the limited edition SBGY003, and there was another limited edition SBGY005 limited edition for Japan. So this is the first time that Grand Seiko has used this movement in a non-limited edition in stainless steel. Finally, the SBGY007 Omiwatari is priced at $8,300 and it is not limited edition, meaning it should be readily available for anyone who's serious about adding this into their collection. We just started receiving some, so if you're interested to purchase or want to learn more, click the link below. We're an authorized retailer for Grand Seiko. Thanks everyone for watching our video on the new SBGY007 Omiwatari. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment below. Of course, make sure to like this video too if you found it useful and you think this watch is beautiful, because I love this watch. And subscribe to our channel if you're new here. It's been a minute and I can't wait to see you all next time. Bye bye.